we all know why we're here.
Matt Ryan.
The star of the show, Constantine. If we can bring him right out, Matt Ryan.
Come on, wherever you are.
There he is. How you doing, man? You doing good?
Hi, guys.
I see you got from whatever hotel or anything here, dry?
Yeah.
That's nice.
It's raining out there, right? I love the rain though, because I'm from Wales.
Wales. Now I was going to say, you're from Wales, obviously used to a little precipitation.
Yeah, but not this warm, you know. The heat and the rain at the same time is quite something.
Yeah. How was it growing up in Wales? What kind of a childhood did you have over there?
Oh, it was amazing, man. I mean, in Wales you've got some of the nicest landscapes and beaches in Europe. The only problem is it rains for 9 months of the year. So when I was a kid, I used to grow up, and when I was growing up, my parents used to take me and my brother walking on the beach in the rain.
In the rain.
Hence, I like the rain. Yeah. We used to dress up for it, and it used to be freezing. But you know, I've ever since I've always had a thing for the rain.
And as far as celebrities out of Wales goes, you're in good company, right?
Yeah, there's a bunch of people. Anthony Hopkins and Richard Burton was from there, and my friend Luke Evans, who's
and of course Tom Jones, the singer Tom Jones. Some of the ladies out there might remember good old Tom Jones. So I guess everybody kind of wants to know what's the status of Constantine.
Yes.
Well, as you all know, we have not been picked up for a second. I know everybody's disappointed, just as disappointed as me and all the cast and the producers were. But you know, we think that we did a really good job. Hopefully, we've had some great feedback from all of you guys. So we're pretty proud to have had the chance to kind of do, and for me to play such an amazing, iconic character.
Do you feel that television these days gives shows enough time to cultivate an audience?
I don't know. I mean, I think television's changing significantly now, especially with all the Netflix and Amazon and Hulu and all these other kind of mediums where you can watch TV. And I think that the big networks, they have a different system, and I think that sometimes they don't. I especially do think that in the case of Constantine that they should have kept us around for longer, But yeah, I think that television culture is changing dramatically, and
it really is. I've noticed over the years, looking at television history, some of the most popular shows ever were not critically acclaimed at first. Maybe they needed a couple of seasons to get some traction, and it just seems like the almighty dollar is more important now than the art that goes out there.
I think that what happened with Constantine is they held back our air date, so that our air date would be round about Halloween. And normally they would give a show 7 episodes on the air before kind of making a decision before they pick up the back 9. Now with us, because we started later, that meant we only had 4 episodes that had aired before the network had to start making their decisions. And in all fairness to the network, they really did try to give it as much chance as possible. I think that, we were in a bad time slot to begin with. That wasn't the best of time slots. And what happened was, most of our demographic were watching the show, but they weren't watching it at 10 p.m. on a Friday night. They were watching it on the Saturday or the Sunday or the Monday. So we actually had an increase of 85% in the numbers over what they call the +3 numbers, which is up to 3 days after the show was aired. So in that case, I mean, that was kind of unheard of. There was never that much of a leap in the +3 numbers, which was great, but obviously, sadly, not enough to keep us on the air.
I think when you look at how TV judges the popularity of shows, the system is kind of archaic. It's the old Nielsen system. They would say, all right, who's watching a show that's on right now? And that's gone. It's all a lot of on demand. You watch it whenever you want, and that's how it's done. Pause it, go to the bathroom.
That's how I watch TV.
Exactly.
I binge watch, and that's what I love about Netflix is the way that they release it all at the same time, so you can just sit down. I normally just watch it all in 3 days or something. Just watch it all come out bright lights. That's the way I like to watch TV. TV, and I think that's what a lot of people do, and that's the way it's certainly going, you know. But I think that they'll adjust. They are adjusting how they review the so-called numbers, and I think that the support that this show has had online from all of you guys is one of the reasons they're doing that, because they realise that there is such a strong support for the show out there, and such a hardcore fan base and following for the show, that it's made them kind of, you know, rethink their whole way of how they analyse it.
They've got to update how they check on the popularity of shows. Just what have you been binge watching? What do you watch?
I binge watched all of 5 seasons of Breaking Bad, like all of them. I think it was like in a week. And I came out and I was like, what just happened?
You almost feel like you were doing meth when you're done binge watching.
There's that, and Game of Thrones, obviously, which I love. I do the same with Game of Thrones, is I'll wait until all 10 episodes have been aired so that I can watch them all together, you know?
But what a minefield you have to walk through on social media and even talking to your friends. It's like, yeah, did you see Game of Thrones? Shut up! Shut up!
Yeah, it's crazy. It's hard, isn't it? Because, you know, you go on Twitter or Facebook or anything and your friends are talking about it and you just...
yeah, you can't.
I'm currently watching Peaky Blinders, which is awesome. It's so cool. It's such a great TV show.
And what's that?
That's on Netflix. It's on Netflix, right? It's a Netflix original with Cillian Murphy, and it's about basically post World War One, kind of the rise of kind of the underworld of the Midlands in the UK. And,
that sounds cool. It really is great. Netflix and Amazon and. The original programming that's coming out, and it does give actors a lot more avenues to pursue, to look at, and it's a viable entertainment form now. I think years ago, what was it, movie stars wouldn't do TV, and then TV people wouldn't do cable, and then you got to cable, and now it's, yes, Netflix, some amazing shows are out there with a lot more freedom than the networks give a lot of these other programs.
Yeah, definitely. I think that now, you know, movie stars want to do, you know, True Detective. I mean, like, well, that's one of my favorite shows. It's amazing, right? And, you know, to be able to flesh a character out over 5 seasons is, you know, a lot more satisfying than, you know, just doing a movie. I imagine. I haven't got the chance to do that.
I don't doubt you will.
I like the prospect of that, especially with a character like Constantine, who, you know, with there's 300 issues of Hellblazer, all the new 52 stuff, and then, you know, the next stuff that's coming out, you know, to be able to really go through that whole catalogue was a really exciting prospect for all of us, you know, and it was a bit of a no-brainer for me, really. You just go, look at all this amazing source material, you know, all we need to do is transpose it to the TV.
Did you watch the Keanu Reeves movie, or were you trying to keep away from maybe? I love how everyone laughs at that. It's like,
no, I did.
Constantine.
I gotta be honest, I really liked the movie. I saw the movie before I knew anything about the comics or the part of Constantine, so I watched it as a kind of standalone thing, and I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was the best of movies itself, but I enjoyed it for a standalone film. And then when I was auditioning for the part, one of my really good friends, he has a comic book company called Improper Books, and his favorite comic book was Hellblazer, and his favorite comic book character was Constantine. So, and I knew that he'd been talking about it for years in the background, and so I was like, Ben, you know, that's not Ben Kenobi, you know, Ben. But I called him, I was like, Ben, you know, Constantine, you know, what can you tell me about it? And he sat me down and he was like, right, okay, this is what you need to read. And then from there, I started to read all the Hellblazer comics. And then I kind of realized that the character portrayal wasn't as true as we wanted it to be in the comics, you know, and we did want to kind of stay as true as we could to the comics.
And that's what you were doing, staying true to the comics. Because a lot of people, what's that?
I said you did a bloody good job.
There is a fine line between adhering to the comic book and making entertaining television, because, I mean, obviously comic book people are very, very faithful to the storyline of the book, and people have their own ideas. visually, how they want it to look, how they want the character to be portrayed in film or on television. Do you guys have discussions about that? Like, oh, we are going to really piss off some people out there.
I think that the major thing for David Goyer and Daniel Cerrone and myself was to try and be as faithful as we can to the comic books. And, you know, I think for TV, you're transposing something to TV, and within that medium, you know, you have to bring on a new audience as well as the hardcore Hellblazers, you know, that fan base. So, you know, you have to kind of make them a little bit TV friendly. So in the first couple of episodes, we were, you know, doing that to invite them in. And I think the great thing would have been, you know, if we had gone seasons down the line, then we could have really got him to that place where he was really, you know, the John that you read in some of the comics, where I was just like, oh my god, this guy is so dark, it's awesome, you know. Yeah. But you know, we weren't quite able to do that early on, because you have to, you know, if you make him too much of a bastard, then, you know, people are going to turn it off. So, you know, you have to bring in a new audience before, you know, you can actually really go there. But that was the plan, and for me as well, I always carried a comic book around with me, and whenever I was struggling with a role or thinking, oh, I don't know what's going on or how John will be in this situation, it would be that I would just open a comic book, the one I was reading at the time, and you know, they're so visual, comic books, you know, you just see a panel and you're like, I get it, you know, and it would help me so much. It became like my Bible. Everywhere I went, I was just like, you know, with a comic book and stuff. And you know, that's the other cool thing, man. I mean, my research for this part was reading comic books. Yeah. I mean, it's like when I did Assassin's Creed, my research for that game. When I did that, my research was I have to play Assassin's Creed 3. And I was living with a bunch of friends of mine in London at the time, and they were like, man, you know, you're just sitting around all day, playing video games. I mean, what are you doing? I was like, man, this is research. That's what I get paid to do. You know? And that's so cool, isn't it? I mean, you know, that's what I love about this job as well. You know, sometimes you do a Shakespeare role and you're researching the 100 Years' Wars in England, and you know, other days you're reading, trying to read 300 comic books in a month. You know, which I didn't get to do, sadly, but
and get a little gaming in
yeah,
on the side.
Yeah,
as far as Assassin's Creed goes, doing the voice acting for that, I don't think people realize how tedious that is, and how much, you know, it's like, oh, work, what are you doing? You're in a studio a long time, saying a lot of lines to the point where your throat is burning. Yeah,
well, what's funny is, like, the way the video games are going now, it's amazing. I mean, the technology. From the first Assassin's Creed game to where we did Black Flag, I mean, we were in a room, in a studio, with 80 cameras around us, in full Lycra suits, all the dots, the head camera in front of you. So it was full motion capture. You know, you look at all those cutscenes, you know, when you get to the part of the mission and then it goes into the scene. Like, we actually, you know, we recorded that for real in a studio. And it's almost like, it's in between a cross of doing theatre and film work. It's a new medium, and it so excited me so much. That's why I thought I have to do this. You know, like Andy Serkis, the way he did Gollum, you know, with all the motion capture. It's literally that. And I think there was over 2.5 hours worth of footage in the game of the cutscenes. So, you know, it's like making a movie.
Yeah.
It's a movie, yeah. And then you go in and then you do all the voice stuff for the in-game play stuff. And that was, I did 3, we were originally supposed to do 2 full days in the studio, but we had to do 3 because I kept on blowing my voice out. And I mean, you know, I'm trained, I trained on my voice for years and years at drama school, but still, you know, all those shouting, you know, man the top sails, you know, come on here lads, you know, after about 3 hours you're like, and then like giving you green tea with honey, I'm like, it's not working.
You think you're just talking, but there's a lot of over-the-top kind of yelling and acting. And that. I myself did, I was the gunsmith in Red Dead Redemption.
Oh, you were?
Yes. Come on in, partner. Yeah, one of those things. And I said it the other day, but it was very funny that some of the fans of my show, of the Anthony Cumia show, would take my character and drag him outside, beat him up, put him on the train tracks, and let him get run over, and then send me a little video clip of their handiwork. it was a lot of fun, but just that, like you said, the voice thing, it's not your own voice. You're not just saying, hi, well, I have a gun and I pointed at you. And, you're yelling.
Yeah, totally. Well, I'm going to buy that game now and do exactly the same.
Do the same exact thing. I have a few other friends that have done video games. We did a couple of, because I know the guy over at Rockstar Games, so we did a few of the Grand Theft Auto games and whatnot. Yeah. If you hear GTA, I actually sang the Pisswasser beer song. Pisswasser, this is beer. Yeah, that was me, thanks. But I have other friends that were in the same game that were just flamethrowered, and they send the video clip like, hey, look, dude, you're on fire. You're like, this isn't fun. But it's an interesting medium in that, like, how do you take direction in that suit, and how is it different than just on a stage or in front of a camera?
Well, it's funny. The first thing is you're in a lycra suit, so you turn up on the first day, and your ego is, there's no ego. You're just like, okay, guys,
you are exposed.
Yeah, you are exposed, and you just get down to work. But with the whole process of it, it took me about a week to kind of get into it. At first, I felt like a dog in a muzzle because you've got this helmet on with a camera right in front of your face, and I was kind of like, I kept on moving like this. I was like, I get this thing in front of my face. So it took me about a week to kind of get up to speed with the whole process. And the guys that work on these games all the time were amazing with that. But it's so funny. It's like doing theatre. Literally, you do it for real in the space with other actors, and then you really have to use your imagination because there's nothing there. You have some props like a sword or a gun, but they're literally just sticks with dots on them. So the sticks become a cup to drink out of. They become a gun to shoot, a sword to slice with. So it reminded me of like when I was a kid running around on the village green and like finding sticks, which was shaped like guns, and then you'd like run around and pretend you were in a movie or something. And it reminded me of that part of your imagination that you use then, and you really have to kind of go there in your head. So it's really exciting.
The technology's just gotten amazing.
Oh, it's crazy.
So
I mean, while we were doing the game, the technology was changing. So I think I went through 3 different headset changes. So and they really hurt your head. Like we used to call them the cranial crunchers because they put them on, and so that they don't wobble, they do them really tight. So after about an hour, you've got like a blinding headache. But then they were developing new ones as we were going along. So I think we went through 3 different
that's how fast it's changing.
Yeah.
You talk about stage work in the theater, Shakespearean actor. That's it. I find that so interesting because, look, us Americans, we love our TV and movies and stuff, and then when it comes to Shakespeare, you really have to be a fan of true theater, I think, to appreciate that. I'm not bad-mouthing anybody. I've sat and watched some really lousy stuff and laughed.
Well, I think the thing with Shakespeare, isn't it? It's like, I hated Shakespeare at school. I absolutely hated it. Yeah, and I was just like, but it's not to be read. It's meant to be played. It's meant to be acted and watched. And I think that, like, the thing for me was I hated it. I hated it growing up and in school, and then when I went to drama school, I kind of got on with it okay. But then on the first day of drama school, we all sat around on a table, and they said, "What would be your ideal favourite role?" And loads of people said, "I'd like to work for the Royal Shakespeare Company," and I was just like, "I never want to do that. I want to do like gritty, real dramas." And my first theatre gig outside of drama school was the lead role of the Royal Shakespeare Company. So I had to like it. But the funny thing is I spent 3 years at the Royal Shakespeare Company and didn't do one Shakespeare play.
Really?
Yeah. I did like all the Shakespeare's contemporaries and other stuff, and then later on I went on to do some other great Shakespearean plays. But
so many amazing actors have done Shakespeare, and it would seem like it would be very difficult to gauge how well you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a funny thing, isn't it? I mean, the language, for one, is something to wrap your head around, you have to study that.
Why don't they speak English?
Yeah. But once you, for me, it's like, I think Al Pacino said this once when he was doing Looking for Richard, which was a documentary about him in Richard III, and he said it's like rap. It's like if you don't listen to rap music and then you listen to rap, sometimes you just can't hear the lyrics, and you have to kind of tune your ear into it. And once you do and you get a hold of it, you get a hold of the rhythm, then you're like, wow, it's a whole new world, and not the songs from but yeah, so and it was like that for me. As soon as I kind of got a hold of it, I kind of fell in love with it, and I think it's awesome.
Yeah, the movie Layer Cake, obviously just one of those great kind of indie feel movies, and Daniel Craig in that. Did you ever see him as Bond when?
I don't know. That was my first job on a drama school, so I was just like,
wow, really?
and I was playing a junkie, so I was like, how do I feel like a junkie? So I remember I drank about 12 cups of coffee, and I was like this. I think the effect worked.
Yeah, those. It seems like those type of roles would suit you well.
Yeah.
And I didn't mean it as an insult, but if you watch certain things like whenever maybe there's an Irish gang or something like that, you would fit in well with that type of...
I enjoy playing those parts, you know. I enjoy playing... well, that's what's so great with Constantine. I mean, like, he's a bastard, but he's a charming bastard, you know. And you know, you get to play a range of emotions, you know. He's nonchalant and he throws things away, and then... but he's really got these all this stuff going on underneath, and he's a tortured soul, and that's why I love the character so much. The more I read of him in the comics, I was just like, wow, this is probably one of the best literary characters written in the last century. You know, I think it's absolutely amazing. Yeah, and just to get the chance to play him, you know, is amazing, and I feel blessed. And the thing I feel most appreciative about, I think, is the way that all you guys and the fans have reacted. I think, like, playing such an iconic character, you know, you know, you could have gone the other way, and like, you know, I'd be hiding outside right now. But no, I think that you know, everybody really got behind it, and I'm really appreciative.
Like Keanu, maybe.
You were better than Keanu.
Yours. As far as the comic books go, you do need time to kind of cultivate that character on television, a new medium for a character that's well known, especially through the books, because these people that have read it know him at a certain point. You can't then introduce him at that point on television.
That's the interesting thing, is like, what's your entry point? All these people who know the character, and then there's all these people who don't know. So there's lots of stuff that, you know, you could be talking about stuff that you assume people know, and then all these people who don't know the Hellblazer comics would be like, what are they talking about, you know? And I think the pilot kind of, for me, the pilot was, it was, you know, there's always a lot going on in a pilot. It was like set piece after set piece. It was so pacey. There wasn't kind of that much character development, I don't think. And you know, in the second and the third episode, you can literally see us kind of trying to figure out what to do with the show, you know, and me trying to find my feet and the writers, but I think you get that a lot on television, and I think that you have to give things a chance. I certainly now will give things a lot more of a chance than I would have before this experience, because I know that we found our feet around about episode 4. I think it was A Feast of Friends, episode 4, which was when I suddenly went, okay, I think I really know who this guy is now, you know, and get underneath his skin. And for that, I think that, you know, you do have to give things a little bit of a chance when you watch something.
I think also you get a little more free reign as time goes by. If you look at a show like The Walking Dead, which obviously kind of veered away from the book series, and Game of Thrones also. Hey, we got our book, and when people come up and go, yeah, I read the books, the Game of Thrones, instantly I want to take the duct tape out and just shut their mouths, because again, I don't want to hear it. But there is a time where you can then start maybe branching out and not anger those hardcore fans of the comics and the books.
Yeah, I think so. And then also, I mean, within the DC universe, I mean, there's so many amazing characters that you can introduce, and kind of there's lots of different ways you can take the character. I mean, my dream was to get to the Dangerous Habits run. I was just like, that's my favorite comic of all of them, and I was just like, if we get to that, that would be amazing, you know. But I also, my other thing that I wanted to do was do the Family Man run, because I thought what's interesting about that is, you know, John John is used to fighting demons and all these things, but when it comes to people, you know, he's not the best at really relating to people, is he? Let's be honest. And I just thought that would be a really interesting dynamic to kind of to see how that would play out, you know. And there's a great line in those comics when he says something like that, doesn't he? He says like, yeah, demons, ghosts, whatever, that's fine, but people, you know. And so I thought that would have been a really interesting storyline to have done for the show.
Is it odd to kind of know what's going to happen? There are so many television series where the actors and actresses have no idea where their characters or their story is going, and it's all laid out for you.
Yeah, I mean, well, what's great about it is so many artists have drawn him, and so many great writers have written him in comics that, you know, and all these different storylines and stuff, and then you don't know what the writers and the producers are going to pick from, which way they're going to, you know, so every time you get a script, you're like, okay, where are we going, you know, and it's really, really exciting in that way, and obviously as the character as well. David and Daniel were so open to kind of a conversation with me about it, how I felt about stuff, and that was also a fantastic part of the experience, is, you know, it really was a collaboration, so yeah, it would have been exciting to kind of see what it would have been.
Yeah, well, also one of your co-stars, and I'm sorry, his name slips my mind right now, from Lost.
Oh, Harold. Yes,
Yeah, Harold from Lost. Now you talk about a show where no one knew what was going to be going on next. That kind of,
yeah.
So yeah, he must have been like, oh, good. Well, at least I have some outline of what this is going to be.
Well, I think the original idea of the Manny character was to build him in slowly. That's why in the first season, what's the first season now, he you know, he gradually comes in. I mean, that episode when I trap him in the body, I mean, that was the funniest thing to film. He was like going to town. I just couldn't stop laughing throughout the whole episode, like filming that. He was so funny. And but yeah, they were building his character up so that possibly at the end of the season, you would, you know, we'd figure out that he was behind the Brujeria and all those things. But then obviously when they didn't pick up the back nine, they kind of pushed that storyline closer. So it was more of a surprise, which I think was a great thing, you know, that it came out of nowhere. You're like, what? Yeah. You know, and I remember reading it and just going, man, yeah, they've got to give us season 2. They have to. I mean, this is I've got to see what happens, you know. But,
you want to take a couple of questions?
Yeah, sure.
Do that, obviously. Let's see, right up front here first. Yeah.
A mutual friend of ours, I think, played Gary Lester.
yes.
I don't know if you've checked your Twitter page, but implied that you're a bit of a lightweight.
I'm a bit of a lightweight. Oh, John.
In what way?
John. He means drinking. He's Northern Irish. Welsh, but he's Northern Irish.
It's the Olympics of drinking.
Defended you. You know, a lightweight. Say it's not so. You're gonna have to read your Twitter
Right.
page. And suggested to give you Polish dessert wine. Now, have you ever had that before?
No.
It's the equivalent of moonshine.
I've had moonshine. We shot the show in Atlantis. I definitely.
Oh, man.
Those were not good days for me.
This will knock you on your backside.
Really?
Yeah. So if you read it, you know, I'm standing up for you.
Right.
He's not. I am.
Sir, right back there with the beard.
I was really happy to see Quid Pro Quo with the storyline with Felix Faust. We always seem like kind of like your opposite number, kind of like the evil shyster version of you.
Yeah, what's interesting about that episode is, and again, like how we kind of adapted characters, like Chaz, for instance, you know, and we give Chaz the power that he has, and then everyone's like, well, how has he got this power? And then we did the episode, you know, that episode when we reveal him. And the same thing kind of with Felix Faust as well, is kind of adapting him slightly as well. And I think that's something that the show creators took liberty with, but also, you know, kept within the same world, as it were. And I thought that was great. I like that.
Miss?
What was the most interesting thing that's happened on set to you? Or something you heard of?
Most interesting?
Yes.
I don't know about interesting, but one of the most uncomfortable things was when I was covered in blood all day, with just a thong on. And that blood, it gets really sticky really fast. So like, you know, I couldn't sit down, and it was like literally a full day. So I'm walking around with my boots and nothing on all day, drinking coffee, trying to like not sit down. And I was like, I'm sitting down. So they put some towels down for me, and I sat down. And then they were like, right, we're ready for you. And I went to get up, and I was like, like imagine like women getting waxed, you know. The hair and makeup department like ripping these towels off my back. And for the rest of it then, I had the whole makeup department following me around with like spritz cans to keep me wet so that the hair wouldn't dry. That was out of day.
That is interesting and uncomfortable. Over here, sir.
So the Arrow, I think executive producer Mark Guggenheim, he's mentioned that he had an open spot, like they had like an open area for Constantine to come into the Arrow.
Yes.
Do you know anything of that? Because they introduced, what was it, Constantine pretty much on the 3rd season, and they said that how it's a magical Lazarus, but sorry. Comic knowledge is failing me right now. But they introduced that mystical element into it.
Yes.
And they were like, we're waiting to see what happens with the show and whether it gets a second season or not, but we're leaving it open because we really like Matt Ryan and we really wanted to reprise his role.
And Stephen Amell's talked about it too.
Yeah, I've heard the rumours, and I think that it would be really exciting. I think that it would be it'd be cool to see how they wrote those two characters interacting, you know. But yeah, that's essentially rumours.
The Flash, you know, Flash is introducing different universes, like Earth 1, Earth 2. I mean, you could be Earth 1, I could be Earth 2, and we can celebrate that.
This guy should go to the networks and pitch for you.
It all worked out for you.
Let's go to the back there. Gentleman with the tie over there. He's so short.
You mentioned that you had a couple of favorite story arcs in Hellblazer that you liked. Were there any moments in the comics that stuck out to you in particular that you would have liked to have performed? And have you, in all honesty, did you like do them at home?
My favorite run of the comics is the Dangerous Habit. You know the scene where he tricks the devil into drinking what he thinks is beer, and then it's holy water. There's that moment which it's always stuck in my head. And the moment when he's talking to the guy in the bed, and you know he knows he's going to die. I was just like, wow, man, that's really cool. But I didn't. I'm not going to tell you whether or not.
Back there in the corner.
What was your favorite episode?
My favorite episode was The Saint of Last Resort's Part 2. Yeah, I mean The Saint of Last Resort's Part 1 and Part 2, and I love that whole storyline with bringing in Anne-Marie, and I really liked the show when you connected Constantine to his past, you know, like when you had the Gary Lester episode. That's another one of my favorites, and then with Anne-Marie, I think I really liked those episodes more than the kind of Demon of the Week episodes, you know.
Right up front.
My question is from Armistice Army. She wants to know what it was like working with your best friend on Armistice and 500 Miles North, and if there any word on release for 500 Miles North.
It's great. The lady's talking about one of my best friends, Joseph Morgan, who's on the originals. He plays Klaus on the originals, and we've known each other since we were in high school, so to speak. And we've made a couple of movies together. We made a couple of films. The first one was called Armistice, which was it's kind of a horror thriller, and then we made something completely different where we starred opposite each other called 500 Miles North, but it hasn't come out yet. We don't know when it's going to come out. Hopefully, I would like to think that we'd be able to get it in festivals kind of coming up to next year. That would be the ideal thing. But it's great. I love working with Joe because we write together. Me and Joe, when we were out of work years and years ago, we were driving around putting posters up for the circus. And literally, and it was like out of work actors going, we're never going to get anywhere, you know, putting up posters. And what we would do is like put up a bunch of posters, put the rest in the bin, in the trash, and then go and write the movie. And we actually wrote our first movie doing that, and then our partnership has kind of continued, and hopefully it will continue for a long time.
I could ask you the Twitterverse and Facebook, and how involved are you? Because especially in the world of adapting comic books to other mediums, there can be some dissatisfied customers. How do you handle social media?
It's been amazing to me. I didn't even know what Twitter was. I think I was calling it. I think I was calling it Twitter, but then I would say, "Hey man, I'm just going to send a little twit." Oh, it's called tweeting. I was like, tweeting? Tweet. I didn't know, I literally was not on it, and then when the show came up, I was like, okay. And then I got up to like 50,000 followers now, which is like, it's amazing, you know? But it's been really, really nice to me. Everybody who's commented on there has been fantastic. And
that's cool, that'll go away.
I didn't read many reviews of the show. I purposefully don't read many reviews of stuff anyway. I think that, you know, if you believe the good ones, then you have to believe the bad ones.
There you go.
So I kind of try, but then the feedback on Twitter when the show came on was you know, it was okay at first, but then as the season went on, people really realized, I think, that we were really trying to do our best to make it as authentic and as close to the comics as possible, and the response was absolutely brilliant.
There seems to be two schools of thought with actors. Actors that watch their stuff and actors that never watch their stuff. Where do you fall into that?
I don't know. I kind of watch my stuff back, but I try to not to watch it I try not to wait too long to watch it, because otherwise I cringe. You know, it's like that thing when you hear your own voice, you know, and you're like, oh, do I sound like that? I mean, if I'm in it and I'm doing it and I watch it back, then I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. But if it's like been 2 years and I watch something, I'm like, oh my God, what was I doing?
Well, that's almost like a compliment, because it kind of shows you that you have grown as an actor, perhaps gotten better at something, and then you look back and go, oh my God, what was I even thinking trying?
Yeah, hopefully that's the case.
Hopefully that's the case. Have you ever watched something and thought like, God, I should have done this or that?
Yeah,
are you
almost everything.
Really almost critical of it?
Yeah, I think, especially with Constantine as well, you know, there was a few episodes where I was like, oh my God, you know, that's not John. But then I can remember watching them at the time and going, okay, you know, and kind of seeing what I was doing. But I think it's the same with anything. The more perspective you have on it, kind of, the more critical you are of yourself as well.
And you know, you have a whole crew of people that are creating this. So maybe you might think that a take you did was, damn, I nailed it, that was the take. And then they decide to go with something else. Do you get upset about that as an actor?
No, I think like with the medium of TV and film, you kind of give that over to the director anyway. That's what I love so much about theatre, you know, you're your own editor, you know, you're in front of a live audience, and, you know, you really get that conversation between them. And, you know, whereas with film and television, you know, some of your best work can be left on the cutting room floor, and you don't have, you know, the decision to kind of to put it in. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Right up front here.
Yeah. So, what's your favorite line in Constantine?
Oh, bollocks. Sorry,
that's a good one. Over here.
If you're on Arrow, not saying that you are going to be, but if you're on Arrow, what would you like to be the enemy or the opposing force of the episode? Would you like to verse Green Arrow and teach him what's up?
I don't know. I think the one thing that what would be interesting is in the comics, John always calls all the superheroes costumes. Yeah. It'd be great to just like turn around and go, hey, nice leather pants. Can't say I'd wear them myself. You know, and that's what I love about John, is he's a real fleshed out, three-dimensional human being. You know, he's like not your average superhero. He's a jerk. You know, and I love the way that he kind of reacts with all in the comics and the DC universe to all those other characters. And it would just be a little bit of fun, you know, to see how he reacts to the Flash and the Arrow or something. I don't know.
Just goofing on the costume. That's so fun.
It is fun.
That is great. Miss, over here right in front. Yeah.
Are there any current projects, TV shows, movies, or just something that you'd like to be a part of going forward?
Oh, that I'd like to be a part of. There's loads of good stuff out there. I mean, the things that I'm watching at the moment, like Game of Thrones, it would be great to do something Game of Thrones, like grow my hair long with a big beard, you know? It's funny because before I did Constantine, I was doing Henry V in the West End. in London, and I had long hair and a big beard. And when I first auditioned for it, I think David Goyer was like, "Yeah, this guy's great, but you know, he looks like Sasquatch." And then they really liked me, but then the studio were like, "No, we don't see it at all."
Wow.
And then they showed them a picture of me in Flypaper, which was a movie I did where I bleached blonde my hair. And they were like, "Yeah, but you know, he doesn't look like that now, does he?" I'm like, "No, obviously I've got long hair and a beard." And then they kept on coming back, and I think I did like 10 audition tapes in London, because I couldn't fly over to LA because I was working. And they kept on saying, "Can you cut your hair a bit? Can you trim your beard?" So I trimmed my beard like as much as I thought I could, and my hair a little bit, but I was like, that's not going to make much difference.
Yeah.
So then they went back to the drawing board again, and I think they auditioned over like 400 people for the role. Yeah, and they went back and they kind of kept on going, and luckily enough for me, my play finished and they still hadn't cast it, so they flew me over, and I chopped all my hair off, I shaved my beard, and I went into the room and got the job. And yeah, it was a long audition process.
Guy after 3 episodes on Game of Thrones.
So just to be in it, do you know what I mean? It's such a good, you know, so those kinds of things that I'm watching, you know, I think whatever I'm watching at the moment, I'm like, you know, Peaky Blinders, Game of Thrones, and then like all the movies I watch, I'm like, where was my audition for that role?
Did you check out Fargo with Billy Bob? And,
I haven't checked that out yet.
I really liked that
love
one.
the movie.
That was good. I guess the new one's coming out this fall.
Right.
Another season. But yeah, like I was saying earlier, that original programming that is coming out on Netflix opens up so much for actors and writers and the whole industry. It's amazing. Way back there. No, that's you.
Ooh.
Oh, Doctor Who. Doctor Who. I don't know. I've never thought about that. Never. No, thanks. As long as it wasn't blonde. Dyeing the hair every 2 weeks. I mean, that's, you know.
Is there anything you feel more comfortable doing? Like, is it drama, romance, comedy, or as an actor, do you just kind of try to?
I've always wanted to do as broad, wide roles, diversity roles as possible. I think that sometimes, you know, you get pigeonholed a little bit. So, you know, I've done quite a lot of straight stuff, but I love comedy, you know, and I'd love to do more comedy, I think. But to do, you know, what's great is, you know, I did Constantine. From Constantine, I went to do an independent British movie that was produced by Andrew Lincoln from Walking Dead, called Away, with Timothy Spall and Juno Temple. And then from that, I'm going to do a play on Broadway. You know, it's like, you know, being able to go across those mediums is like, it's awesome, and that's what I love about the job, you know.
Yeah, you seem like a very well-rounded actor. Like, you've done many things and been successful at it. It's quite the hats off, as they say.
There you go.
How do you live in the States now, or?
Oh, it's funny, man. I rent a room with John Joe O'Neill, who played Gary Lester. Rent a house with him in London. For the last 2 years, I've rented a house in London and I've lived there for 3 weeks. It's crazy, which is amazing because it means I've been busy and I've been like bouncing here and there, but I'm currently based in New York. Before that I was in LA, so I don't really know where my home is at the moment. I mean, I would say it's the UK and it's London, but I haven't spent much time there over the last couple of years. But I mean, America's been so good to me, you know, like when I first came over here to do a play on Broadway, I did Hamlet on Broadway and in 2009 with Jude Law, and then I went on to do Criminal Minds straight after that, and so it's been amazing over here for me, and I love it.
How was the Criminal Minds episode? Were you?
It was good. Yeah. We did like 13 episodes, and we got cancelled after that. It was great. I think the problem with that show, for any of you guys that know it, was, you know, we were supposed to be a part of a Red Cell group, which were a division of the behavioral analysis unit. And originally we were supposed to do international drug smuggling, child trafficking, assassinations, all that kind of interesting stuff. But then we ended up just doing domestic murder, which is exactly like the original team. So I can remember one time saying to the producers, I was like, what's different from us, apart from the fact that we wear leather jackets and work out of a dojo? But it was great fun to do, and I got to work with, you know, one of my favorite actors, Forrest Whitaker, so I was like, you know, that was awesome.
Oh yeah. From Fast Times at Ridgemont High, as I remember, he was a football player back when he was a kid. So many like amazing actors came out of that silly movie.
You know, he was in Bloodsport as well. You know that movie, the Van Damme movie?
Oh yeah.
That's
Really?
I was like, Forrest! That's so cool.
I don't think there's like watching older movies on television or older TV shows. There's some, I don't know why you get that satisfaction of going, that's the guy that was in, and you just get such a, yeah, I knew that. Yeah, little game, I guess. That, right here.
Have you ever done any voice work for like cartoons, or ever thought of doing something like that?
I'd really like to actually. I've done some radio work in terms of radio plays and stuff like that. But it's something I'd really love to do, yeah. Maybe I'll do more of in the future.
Miss, right there in the middle.
How was your experience doing the scene where you're doing exercise? You were hanging at high water. Obviously, you were hanging on high water. Like, how was that?
It was one of the most satisfying and exhausting kind of times on the show. It really took it out of me, you know. And the schedule's so packed anyway, you know. You work in 18-hour days some days, but it was great. I loved it. But yeah, being lifted up on the wires and then, you know, having to, you know, do all that stuff. It was pretty exhausting. It was.
The longest time that you were
they were pretty good actually. They'd like lift me up, I'd do the stuff, and then they'd like bring me back down. But there was a few times I was hanging there. But they were pretty good at looking after me with all that stuff. I mean, all the crew and everything were great on the show, and they really look after you. And then, you know, I'd have someone come over because I was tied down and feed me water and a straw and stuff, you know, out of a glass with a straw. And yes, they looked after me as much as they can. But I had these contact lenses in as well, and because I was sweating with all the makeup was going into my eyes with the contact lenses, so I couldn't see anything. And like, I can remember for a day after, my eyes were just like blurry. Because like all the stuff that had gone into my eyes, you know.
Sir.
Yeah. On social media, we hear a lot of rumors that Constantine will be picked up by like Netflix or another station or another channel. Do you know of any truth of any of them, or any actual serious negotiations going on?
I have no idea. All I know is that we've been officially released from our contracts. So, I mean, you know, DC and Warner has owned the property. It would be great if they did. I told them when I left that I would be up for reprising the role if down the line if they ever wanted to do that. So, I mean, it's something, you know, I'm doing a play now until January. So, but if they wanted to pick it up after that, then I'd be up for it. It'd be great to kind of continue it.
We have time for one more over here. That's you.
God, I'm sorry, I just took a pill. I'm not here.
I just took a pill. I love that. That seems like a good one.
Okay. As we know, and we're all so sad that Constantine has been canceled, do you have any upcoming roles that we can look forward to that you're going to be doing?
Well, as I said, I've just finished doing a movie in the UK, which is called Away, and that was co-produced by Andrew Lincoln, actually, and starring Juno Temple and Timothy Spall. That should be in festivals next year, and then we have the project 500 Miles North, which is a movie that I co-produced with Joseph Morgan and Ben Reed and Luke Massey. That hopefully will be in festivals next year. And then I'm on September the 1st, I'm off to start rehearsals on a play which will be on Broadway in New York, which will play all the way through to January the 10th.
What show is that?
It's called Thérèse Racan. It's based on an 19th century novel by a French writer called Émile Zola. It's a great classical piece that doesn't get done much, especially in this country, with Keira Knightley, who plays the title role of Thérèse Racan. So I'm really excited about that, to get back on stage again. As I said, you know, to go from like, you know, on TV, you know, network television to independent movie to to Broadway, it's like it's a dream come true. You know?
Well, unless it's the Broadway version of that disaster of Spider-Man they did, at least you won't have to be hanging up from wires and crashing into the orchestra pit. Thank you so much for spending some time. Oh, you want one more question? Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. We like the show Vikings, and IMDb says you were in there.
I know, man. I know it does. Somebody came up to me before and they were like, "So, who did you play in Vikings?" I was like, "I was never in Vikings."
Should be.
I know, it's crazy, right? They have me done as like Matt Ryan, one episode peasant.
Yeah.
Someone's taking the mickey. That's crazy. Oh, I never did Vikings. It's a great show, though. I like the show.
They have a football
Look
player.
for him as
right.
peasant in it. That's great. Matt, thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.